The ball stopped 2 inches from the hole. He won the Wanamaker Trophy. He was ranked 169th in the world, and it was his first win in 164 starts on the PGA Tour. CBS broadcaster Jim Nantz called it immortal on live television. A plaque was built to mark the exact spot where the ball landed. And then Shaun never won again, not once. So what really happened? Shaun was born in Orlando, Florida in 1969. When he was 4 years old, his father Buck joined Federal Express as one of its very first pilots, and the family relocated to Memphis, Tennessee. It was a move that would quietly shape everything that followed. The family bought a home adjacent to a golf course. No one handed Shaun a lesson plan. No one mapped out a development path. He simply walked outside, picked up a club, and started figuring it out on his own. Every technique, every instinct, self-taught from the ground up. As a teenager at Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, he won 2 individual state championships. The kid who taught himself to swing had become the best junior golfer in Tennessee, but golf was not yet the plan. Shaun had grown up watching his father fly, and for a while, he seriously considered following that same path into the cockpit. It was his college coach at Indiana University, Sam Carmichael, who changed his mind. Under Carmichael, Shaun became one of the most decorated amateur golfers in the country. In 1991, he won the Big Ten individual title with a record score of 276, led the Hoosiers to the Big Ten team championship, and earned first-team All-American honors. Here is what matters about that foundation. Shaun built his entire game on instinct, not instruction. That self-taught naturalness was his greatest weapon. It was also, years later, the thing he would systematically dismantle, trying to become something more. Shaun turned professional in 1992. What followed was not a steady climb. It was a decade of detours. He started on the Sunshine Tour in South Africa, then moved to the mini tours across the United States, then eventually found his way to the Asian Tour. In 1998, he won the Singapore Open, his first professional victory, thousands of miles from where he wanted to be. A year later, a win on the Nike Tour finally gave him a path back to the PGA Tour. But even after earning his card, Shaun could not find consistency. He spent years hovering near the cut line, fighting to keep his status, disappearing from the conversation entirely. 163 starts on the PGA Tour without a single win. During that same stretch, something happened that had nothing to do with golf. In 1994, while competing at a tournament in New Bern, North Carolina, Shaun jumped into the water and pulled 2 people out of a sinking car. He was awarded the Sons of Confederate Veterans Award for bravery. The newspapers covered the rescue, not the golfer. Nobody outside of Memphis knew his name. That was Shaun in his 30s, a man capable of extraordinary things in moments nobody was watching. In August 2003, Shaun arrived at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester, New York for the PGA Championship. He was ranked 169th in the world. It was only his 3rd major start. He told people later that his goal for the week was simply to make the cut. He shot 69 in the first round, then 68 on Friday, which put him at the top of the leaderboard by 2 shots. Nobody quite believed what they were seeing. After a 3rd round 69, he stood tied for the lead, with Chad Campbell heading into Sunday, 3 shots clear of the field. That Sunday morning was not calm. Shaun woke up early, watched television coverage to track pin positions, and sat with what he described as an edgy, fidgety kind of nerves. Not sick, but not still either. When he finally arrived at the clubhouse and opened his locker, there was a handwritten note taped inside from fellow competitor Lauren Roberts. It read, "Shaun, you're as good as anybody out here. Now go and win this thing." He carried that note onto the course. The final round ebbed back and forth. Campbell made a run. Shaun made bogey on the 17th hole, and suddenly his lead was down to 1 shot. He stepped onto the 18th tee with everything on the line. His drive drifted left, settling in the first cut of rough, 174 yards to the flag. He pulled a 7-iron. His caddy, Bob Chesney, called out, "Be right!" As the ball climbed into the sky, the roar from the crowd told Shaun it was close before he could even see the green. He walked up the slope and found his ball sitting 2 inches from the hole. Shaun later recalled turning to a cameraman and asking, "How close is it?" and receiving no answer. He did not know until he walked up and saw it himself. He tapped in for birdie, signed his scorecard with extraordinary care, terrified of a disqualification error, and became a major champion for the first and only time. That evening, Shaun was a major champion. His wife, Stephanie, 6 months pregnant with their first child, climbed into a stretch limousine with him after the trophy ceremony. They were headed back to the hotel when they spotted a Wendy's by the side of the road. Hungry, with nowhere else open, they asked the driver to pull through the drive-thru. "A cheeseburger and fries with a chocolate frosty," Shaun said years later, laughing. "That was the celebration dinner. I'm sorry it's nothing more elegant." The next morning, back home in Memphis, he was doing laundry when his phone rang. The voice on the other end said, "Hey, Shaun, this is Paul Stanley from Kiss." Kiss had been Shaun's favorite band since the 5th grade. Stanley was calling to invite him backstage at their show in Columbus, Ohio, the following night. It was a glimpse of what winning a major could open up doors that had nothing to do with golf. But there is something worth noticing about those first 48 hours. The limousine went to Wendy's. The major champion was doing his own laundry the next day. Shaun had not changed. The world around him, however, was about to change completely, and he was not prepared for what that actually meant. The 5-year exemption that came with winning a major should have freed Shaun. Instead, it paralyzed him. In the months following his victory, he stopped doing the one thing that had grounded him his entire life. He stopped playing golf with his father and his father's group of friends, something he had done since he was 10 or 11 years old. He stopped playing for joy. What replaced it was something altogether different. I found myself with a video camera at the back of the range, analyzing my swing and hitting balls for 5 or 6 hours at a time, Shaun admitted years later. "I just got completely overwhelmed by the stress of being a major champion, of trying to validate it, of trying to prove to people that it wasn't just a fluke." The press did not help. Shortly after his win, a golf publication ran a list of the worst major champions of all time. Shaun's name was on it, alongside Todd Hamilton and Jack Fleck. He had barely finished celebrating before the narrative shifted to questioning whether he deserved to be in the same sentence as the men whose names were already on the Wanamaker Trophy. He later described the psychological whiplash with striking honesty. "I loved every minute of it at first, but then it flipped and I started hating every minute." What Shaun experienced has a name in sports psychology, even if he did not have that language at the time. When an athlete reaches the peak of their sport earlier than their mental framework is ready for, the achievement itself becomes the obstacle. Every round after Oak Hill was measured against that 1 week, nothing could match it. And the harder he chased it, the further away it moved. "I truly wish I had sought some counseling from a sports psychologist," he said. "I was desperately trying to find some kind of balance, but every week I got further and further away from it." 3 years after Oak Hill, Shaun gave the golf world one final reminder of what he was capable of. At the 2006 PGA Championship at Medina Country Club, he put together 4 steady rounds and finished as runner-up to Tiger Woods, 5 shots back. It was not a collapse. It was a legitimate challenge at a major championship against the most dominant player the sport had ever seen. For a brief moment, it looked like Shaun might be building something real. Then came Wentworth. A few weeks after Medina, Shaun entered the HSBC World Match Play Championship in England. In his very first match, he was drawn against Tiger Woods, who at that point had won 5 consecutive tournaments. The longest winning streak of Woods' career, Shaun dismantled him 4-3. He then beat Luke Donald and Robert Carlson to reach the final, where he lost to Paul Casey. In the space of 1 month, Shaun had finished second at a major and eliminated the world number one in match play. By any measure, it was the most complete stretch of golf he had played since his victory 3 years earlier. But it was also the last time anyone would seriously mention his name in that conversation. The shoulder that had been making strange noises during rounds was about to demand his full attention. And when it did, the version of Shaun that showed up at Wentworth would not come back. The shoulder had been a problem for a while before anyone took it seriously. It was Zach Johnson playing a casual round alongside Shaun who finally said something. Johnson noticed Shaun rubbing his shoulder between shots and asked what that noise was every time he swung. Shaun had been ignoring it. He could not ignore it anymore. The diagnosis was a torn labrum and a torn biceps tendon in his left shoulder. In June 2008, he went under the knife in Birmingham, Alabama, operated on by the renowned orthopedic surgeon James Andrews. The same day, Andrews performed shoulder surgery on MLB pitcher John Smoltz, 2 careers on the table, one after the other. Shaun was told it could be 4 months before he could touch a club again. The surgery forced him to rebuild his swing from scratch at the exact moment his tour exemption was running out. He had run out of time and run out of shoulder simultaneously. By 2011, he had lost his full-time PGA Tour status entirely. Then, in February 2014, came something far more serious. Shaun began experiencing shortness of breath during exercise. What followed was a diagnosis of multi-vessel heart blockage. In April of that year, surgeons inserted 4 stents. He posted about it on social media with remarkable composure. Got some scary news. Sure wish it was a shoulder or knee issue. In the middle of all of this, something quietly extraordinary happened. At the US Open in 2010 at Pebble Beach, Shaun stood 239 yards from the hole on a par 5. He hit a 3-iron that went straight into the cup. He never saw it drop. He knew only from the roar of the crowd, one of only 3 players in history to make an albatross at the US Open. He reached into the hole, took the ball out, and handed it to his wife, Stephanie. Then he gave it to his mother, who was dying of cancer at the time. She passed away a few months later. My mom at that point was dying of cancer, and she passed away a few months after that. Shaun said, to get that ball out of the hole and give it to my wife, and I gave that to my mom before she passed away. His father, Buck, the FedEx pilot who had moved the family to Memphis decades earlier, also passed away during these years. The man who had inspired Shaun's early love of flight and whose weekend golf games Shaun had quietly walked away from after 2003 was gone as well. When the PGA Tour no longer had a place for Shaun, he did not disappear. He redirected. Before his win in 2003, his close friend John Daly had been hosting an annual Make-A-Wish charity event in Memphis. Daly was stepping away to start his own foundation, and the event needed a new home. The timing was not a coincidence. That left a void for them, Shaun said. Come August of 2003, when I won, that void was quickly closed. They approached me, and it was an incredible opportunity for Stephanie and I. Over 14 years, the Make-A-Wish Classic he founded raised more than $3 million and granted over 600 wishes to children with critical illnesses across the region. Winning had opened a door, and he chose to walk through it in that direction. In 2022, Butler University head coach Colby Huffman reached out and asked Shaun to join the program as an assistant coach. He accepted. Working with young collegiate golfers, he draws directly from his own story, not the highlight, but the mistakes that followed it. A lot of the things that I tell the players are the mistakes I made, Shaun said. Whether it is being too wrapped up in technique or obsession at night over your scores, it is a mental grind out there. Huffman described him simply. Very few players in the world have Shaun's level of expertise and wisdom. So, what really happened to Shaun? He won the way almost no one ever wins, as a nobody, on the biggest stage, with a shot that stopped 2 inches from the hole. And then he spent years trying to become worthy of it, not realizing he already was. The shoulder surgery was real. The heart surgery was real. The grief of losing both parents was real. But the first wound was self-inflicted the moment he traded instinct for obsession and joy for validation.